It's just us today and John because storms in Dallas knocking out internet connections and reliability of our remote guests or our big, tough, strong Wisconsin guy that can't drive in the rain. Start the show right now.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLS Stars podcast. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour. Check out Happiest Hour for the best spot to watch the NHL playoffs. Hey, welcome inside the podcast studio here at DLLS on a very stormy, what's today? Oh, it's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. April 30th. I'm here. I was going to say Sam Nestler, Owen Newkirk. We probably would have sat next to each other in school. We made that joke yesterday. He's alphabetically ahead of me by an S versus a W.
And intellectually.
And intellectually, the head of the class is the guy that starts with the letter A. John Anderson is our producer. There he is. And he is here and showing himself a little bit more because we have no Craig Ludwig because, I don't know. John, did you guys tell him not to come in or did he say he couldn't drive in rain?
No, I called him and I told him we didn't want him to die. So
that's probably
we needed him alive for the playoff run.
That's true. We want a living Luds.
Meanwhile, I'm flying Frontier. They don't care if I die.
Oh, I'm on Frontier tomorrow morning too.
Man, you guys are.
What if you guys lose me and Sam in the same day to Frontier Airlines?
That would be a problem.
I'm going to be walking with a limp for a week after anyway.
Just appreciate the size of the tray table. It's really it's nice.
Speaking of size, how about the full head difference between Sam and Owen height-wise?
Well, I'm not even sitting upright. I'm slouching a little bit to help him feel a little better too. So you're not that short, but for some reason, when you sit in the chair, it really shows, doesn't it?
I'm going to occupy this corner today.
That's a good corner.
Yeah,
That's
because that way you're not fighting with the logo
Go over,
at all.
Dirk.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you, John. So we were supposed to have Sean on as well. We have technical issues with our internet connection here at the studio, which is why we're not doing this live like we normally do with YouTubes and chats and all that stuff. But we are going to put this out there just like a normal podcast, and you hopefully enjoy the full thing. So no Sean, he was scheduled to be on remote, and no Craig Ludwig for the same reason. And so here we go. Let's talk about it with just the three of us. Still be fun. Okay. We were at practice today. It was at American Airlines Center, which is a rarity for the Stars because typically they practice in Frisco. Although in the playoffs, it's a little bit more common, especially on a day like today where they had a day off. They're going to the airport to fly out of Love Field. I'm sure the weather's really perfect for them. But essentially, it allows for, or I should have said effectively.
Yeah, that's the way to
Sorry,
do it.
I forgot my vocabulary here. It allows for them probably to get to Love Field a little bit quicker, maybe take a little ease of strain off of the equipment staff that's going to take the game gear and yada, yada, all that stuff. So what did we learn from practice today?
We learned that Ilya Lyubushkin took the day off for maintenance. Pete said he's fine, so no issue there. Just took the day off. He was the only one missing from practice today. We learned that Miro Heiskanen skated again. Pete called it progressing without restrictions, which is what we've seen. I saw it in Denver, skating pretty full. There's still none of that planned contact that everyone's asking about. Miro went in on a pairing with Thomas Harley, which I know fans love to see. I think it was a placeholder without Lyubushkin there. It just was odd to me that Dumba or someone wasn't in there, but I don't think it means anything more than just getting him in there skating with one of the pairings. But we learned that the team's ready to go, and we also learned that Matthew Shane has plenty of funny things to say, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we should talk about that. Let's address the Miro thing first. I have a forming gut feeling that we won't see Miro Heiskanen in the first round at all, even if it's Game 7. And it's not because he's not getting closer. I think he is. But and maybe this is just my weird opinion, I have not seen him skating in any of the practices, whether it's morning skates or this was a real practice. Now, it wasn't super intense. right? It's not the hardest practice we've seen the Stars play this year. But I still haven't seen him really go all out. Hard, driving strides, leaning in on guys. Now, again, practices, we're not talking about punishing gauntlet hits in the corner or anything like that. But he is always a smooth skater. He looks comfortable. I don't see. Here's the comparison I'll make. Tyler Seguin, coming back from his injury, which is different. It's a different surgery, hip versus the knee. But we watched him build up progressively, and he went through really heavy conditioning skates with just about every one of the Stars coaching staff, including Pete DeBoer.
Yeah.
They were all putting him through the paces. Have we seen that from Miro Heiskanen yet?
No.
In person?
Nope. And I think for Miro, you're absolutely right in terms of practice. It's hard to tell with him in general just because of the way he skates, but he's doing all the drills and he's part of all of them. But there's not, the only time I saw Miro like pushing and breathing heavily was, I believe it was before morning skate, before Game 5, when he went out there with Lundqvist and Dumba and Smith and those guys. And that to me is, I think, what we're not seeing is that when he is pushing it, they don't want people to see it, right? They don't want someone to see Miro if he goes out there and he's pushing it and he's grabbing on his knee or he's, things like that. So that's why when we went up to Pete's media availability yesterday in Frisco, they had the curtains down. I still, stuck my head in there a little bit, but they want to keep that stuff private because it's the playoffs. They don't want any sort of advantage for anyone else. But I think you're exactly right. And I wrote about this yesterday on our site that I would be surprised to see Miro return in this series. I didn't think that early on. I thought he'd be back somewhere around here originally, but seeing how he's progressing and understanding what we saw from Tyler, not just what you said and how hard he was pushing the drills he was going through, but also how long it took him. I know there was some salary cap stuff that came into play with Tyler, but for me, it took a very long time for him once he got to each step, right? He got to the step of skating on his own. Then he got to the step of skating in practice. Then he started getting contact. It just felt like a much longer process than a quick 8-day, you're ready to go, jump into Game 6 of a Stanley Cup playoff series against one of the fastest teams in the NHL. So for me, I think the reality that fans need to understand, and we both hope we're wrong. We both hope that we say this and Miro comes out and plays in a game, right?
It'd be really fun, but I don't expect it.
Yeah, so I don't think Miro comes back this series. I think it's a second round thing if the Stars advance. And for me, Jason Robertson seems a ways away.
We haven't seen him with the group yet.
All I've seen him do is skate with the scratches, people that I talked about with Nils and Miro, skating on his own, and we haven't seen him at all with the group. He's walking without crutches. For some reason, he holds his brace when he walks out of the rink at the end of each game.
Yeah.
But he's not wearing it. So we're seeing progression, but we're not seeing it anywhere near what we think of someone who could return.
Right. And I mean, maybe the brace is something for precautionary measures now, because typically if you're at a point where you don't need it to walk, that's not surprising. But there's a difference between lateral movement and running and skating where you might need that extra stability. That's good news if he's not wearing it out to walk, but obviously that doesn't necessarily say he's that close.
Yep.
So, don't expect to, who knows on Jason Robertson, but I don't think we're going to see Miro. Now, would be surprised. I'd be really surprised if it was tomorrow's Game 6. If it was Game 7, less surprised. But again, we talked about this at length. Miro Heiskanen is going to come into the lineup and not play 5 minutes. He's going to play 20 to 25 minutes usually. Now maybe they won't play him 30, but if you're looking at a winner-take-all Game 7, you want your guys to be at close to full strength as you can, especially against another really good team like Colorado. So I don't think that's people were wigging out because you posted what you saw for pairings today, and he was skating with Harley. It made sense not for them to not break up Ceci and Lindell, Petrovic and Bischel, because those are the groups they're going to stick with. So, and then they, obviously they have Dumba, they have,
Smith.
Brendan Smith. It's fine, but that to me was a placeholder. That was not a sign that Miro's on a normal pairing, and I think people are overreacting to that.
I would say if he skates in a normal pairing tomorrow, and I don't know if it's going to be an optional or not, and it's not an optional, then we can start talking about something.
Maybe, but I mean,
only if Lyubushkin's out there.
I mean, Pete said Lyubushkin's totally fine.
Yep.
He didn't even. It wasn't a hey, we're concerned. We gave him, and he said maintenance. He's fine.
Yep,
not a story.
Yep.
So that's a good thing to see.
Very good. He's been good.
The other things from Game 5. Now, we were going to have Sean on and talk about his take of Mackenzie Blackwood. Obviously, Sean's not here today because of our technical issues with connecting and stuff. So with that means that we kind of have to push that off to another day. But I can ask you, because you covered Blackwood when you were in New Jersey for quite a bit. And I thought it was very interesting what you said in the press box after those first 2 goals in the first period was, he gave up the first one, and that was awful. But then he looked shaky even before the Harley goal.
Yep.
And you said that tracks with his history in New Jersey, not even going to San Jose and getting shelled every night.
Yeah, it's something that, and nothing against him. It's not something that's a negative on the way he plays. It's just that he's a goalie who likes to ride momentum, and sometimes he rides it in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, if you look at the games where he plays up to what he can do, people were saying he's a starting goalie. There's a reason San Jose got him. There's a reason Colorado got him. But he can ride that wave both ways. And so when you get a game like some of the earlier ones we saw where he makes a few saves early on, or they're not testing him a whole lot, and he's able to just settle in, get a lead, which they did every night, and play his style, he looks great. And he's super athletic. He's a big goalie. Kind of not the best rebound control just because of his size. He's more of a blocker, but he plays really well and he's comfortable. When you get an early one on him, especially one like Wyatt's, where it's not a goal that a goalie ever wants to give up, that can shake him a little bit. And for me, I haven't played hockey goalie in a very long time, but I use my lacrosse goalie mindset of when you are feeling not confident, you start to lean a little, or you start to guess a second before you should start moving. And that can be all that matters in a speed game like the NHL, or even college lacrosse, or high levels like that. If you just take a second to kind of lean or kind of guess or be antsy, it makes you a completely different goalie. And you can go from having an excellent game to a 50% game in hockey, whatever it might be. And for me, that's what I saw with him. We saw the one with Harley. He's kind of quickly looking away, like he's not really fully seeing where the puck's coming from. We saw some long shots that he whiffed on with his glove and just kind of hit him in the collarbone. The ones that hit him weren't really comfortable saves for him, and it was just a total 180 from what we saw in the original beginning of the series. So for me, the thing I'm interested in, I don't think we're going to see Scott Wedgwood start tomorrow. I believe Blackwood starts.
I don't either. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how he starts.
Well, here's the thing. So they had an optional practice in Denver today. A lot of players didn't take the ice. Looking through some of the post skate or optional interviews, Mackenzie Blackwood was one of the guys in front of all the cameras. He looked really relaxed. He was making jokes, smiling. You could see the missing front teeth, which is more common with players than with goalies.
Yeah.
He may be in his first playoff series, but it's not like he's a rookie or in his first year in the NHL, first or second or anything like that. He's 28 years old. He has played a long time. The injury issues were a problem for him, and of course the consistency. But when he's on, he's really, really good. And you don't get to the NHL and then start suddenly forgetting that you're a good hockey player.
Yep.
But there are mental games in a playoff series, and it will be on him to go out and prove that he's there, because I think you're right. I don't think we're going to see Scott Wedgwood start, although Wedgie did look really good.
He's very good.
Coming in the third period on Game 5. But what happens if a bad goal goes in on Blackwood early? Then the seeds of doubt start getting again. To quote the question that Kyle Bukauskas asked Brady Tkachuk after the Game 5 last night in Toronto, where Ottawa kept their series alive, forced to Game 6. And Brady said, yeah, I think we have planted some seeds of doubt and kind of made Toronto think, uh-oh, what now? Well, if something bad happens early for Blackwood, as far as a wobbly save or an uncomfortable goal goes in, now I think that becomes a real issue.
Yeah, and not just for him. I think the team understands. They know what goalie they have, and that's probably why they went out and got a 1B. Wedgwood's, I wouldn't call Wedgwood a full-fledged backup that can only play 20 games a year. He can step in when you need him, and he did exactly that for them, and I think the team knows that. So for me, it's a goal or two that they believe should be stopped. That's their season on the line in Game 6. They're not going to wait to put Wedgwood in and say he doesn't have it tonight. And so it'll be interesting to see if Blackwood comes out and just sparkles, because I don't know. Colorado's going to play the best game they've played all series. They have to. Defensively, they're going to be better in their own end, but it's just going to be something that we have to watch, because the Stars know that too, and they're going to be putting pucks right at the net.
More on the upcoming Game 6, more from practice today because we had some comedy going on with the players, and we're going to talk about that next here on the DLS Stars podcast.
BBQ and country music. What's more Texas than that? The Lone Star Smokeout is coming to AT&T Stadium in Arlington May 2nd through 4th. Try barbecue from 14 teams across the U.S. and decide for yourself who is really the champ. Pair all that events each day like Texas' biggest happy hour, Derby Day, and Cinco de Mayo a day early. Country's biggest stars like Cody Jinks, John Party, and Midland, who performed at the Dallas Stars Winter Classic, will all be performing. Stay tuned to DLS for more information on our upcoming VIP ticket giveaway for each day of the Smokeout. Kids 10 and under get in free for general admission. Tickets start at just $68. Don't miss out. Get your tickets at LoneStarSmokeout.com. That's LoneStarSmokeout.com. It's going to be good. I'm excited about it. I want to get a little barbecue and a little country music in my life.
I'm a barbecue guy, so I certainly appreciate that. And of course, we know that Texas is full of barbecue. Okay, let's talk about Ownwell. Ownwell is a phenomenal company that can help you with your property taxes. What do you mean? Well, owning property comes with plenty of challenges. Overpaying on property taxes shouldn't be one of them. And you can, if you didn't know this already, fight property taxes and save thousands of dollars every year. Ownwell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. You can sign up in under 3 minutes, and the team of local experts and cutting-edge technology can start saving you money with no upfront costs. How does it work? Well, it's pretty easy. You sign up with Ownwell online, getting an instant estimate of tax savings. It takes only about 3 minutes with just a couple of simple details, and they handle everything from start to finish. No upfront costs, only pay if you save. 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction, the average customer savings of $1,100. The deadline to protest is May 15th for most counties. Save money on your property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS. All right, so let's have a little bit of fun here because that's what we're here. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as you watch this one today. Sam, we have had a lot of fun, and I was on this early in Game 5 when I saw it on the television cameras catching, they always have shots of the coaches on the bench, whether it be Pete DeBoer, Jared Bednar, who name it. And at some point, I think it was the ESPN broadcast. ESPN's TV broadcast loved to spend a lot of time coach bench crowd shots. It's interesting. You look at the differences, like Victory Plus, I really like because I think they really lean into scoring chances. So when there's a stoppage of play, they'll show a lot of replays, a lot of good camera angles. Razor will break it down. And it's for us as we try to watch a game, especially when the team's on the road and you only get so many views, it really is beneficial. ESPN does show, of course, plenty of replays and highlights, but they like to cut away to that sort of arena atmosphere and those kind of things, including showing the coaches' reactions on the bench. Well, in Game 5, we saw somebody that we've seen before pop up at American Airlines Center. It's fake Jared Bednar. Now, of course, this went viral very quickly. My big question the other day was, how the heck did he get it down? Like, we've seen this guy before, and we'll show you another picture in a second. But he's got the hair, the wig's pretty close. It does look.
You just slick it back a little more.
To me, the big thing is matching suit and tie. I mean, they
pocket square and everything.
Pocket square. He really nailed that. Now, my question was, how the heck did he do that? Because you can dress up as a coach, you can have a wig, go to the game, sitting right behind the bench. That's one thing. How the heck did he match it? Then we did some investigating. And it's the rumor mill is swirling. I don't know how. I mean, one of our sources is very credible. The other one, I don't know if there's much to it, but it sounds like he's not working alone. This is a team effort bit that is hilarious.
Yeah, someone, according to the sources, their friend goes into the arena, and whenever Pete, so they don't come out until the beginning of the game, right? The coaches.
Yeah, the head coaches are usually never on the bench
until they come out for the
warm up. Now, a lot of times you'll see assistant coaches pop out there.
Yep.
Sometimes you'll see assistant coaches with their coat or their jacket off, not staying on until the game starts, because they'll come out sort of less formal thing to watch
Right.
the warm up, maybe check the line combinations for the other team.
So this we got to get his name and everything, and there's more
my
information
goodness.
that we need to discover. But he has a friend that goes into the arena, I'm assuming for warm up and early on. When the teams come out, he will look at what Jared Bednar is wearing on that bench, and he will take a picture and send it to this guy who is sitting in his car in the parking lot with multiple colored suits.
I mean, clearly has a wardrobe ready to go.
He must have everything, because it's not just like Jared Bednar is wearing like a black or a blue, or he wore burgundy in Denver, so he can wear a lot of different colors. So this guy gets the text, sees the picture, gets fully suited up in his car, and comes into the game, sits right back there. And I'll tell you right now, he spends a lot of money to make that joke, but it is pretty fantastic.
It is. So take a look at the photo again. The same picture, John, if you would please. So there's also a blonde wig individual next to him. If you look right behind the face of Jared Bednar. Now, if you're listening to our audio platforms, of course, you can't look and see that. But you go to the internet, go to Twitter. This photo, these videos, because there's videos from the ESPN broadcast. There's also still shots that we're using now. It's floating all over there. That's not a coincidence either, because last year in the second round, look who it is, as we found, and this was a thing last year, fake Jared Bednar, same suit, have the matching suits with a gentleman wearing a lawn blonde wig, right? I mean, this is the same duo.
Same individuals. Maybe maybe his source.
The scout.
That's the scout.
Yeah. And boy, everybody's aware of it. Now, Bednar last year, I found a clip. We're not sure if we're legally allowed to play a TV news video from one of the Colorado stations, but there was a clip of Bednar last year being asked about it after the game, and he said he didn't see it during the game. There was a smile as if he's definitely seen it since then.
Yeah.
This was last year, and he said, I tend not to look around to the crowd and into the stands when I'm on the bench. That doesn't mean that his assistant coaches, players, family, friends, GM, somebody's definitely made sure he's seen that. That was last year. Well, this year, I'm positive he's seen it again, but we talked to Pete DeBoer, we talked to Matt Duchene, and they very much enjoyed this.
Yeah. Pete first. Pete said that he thought it was funny. He saw it after. He had a very similar face to the one you're seeing on our screen if you're watching it right now. He said that he would have preferred to have a doppelganger like Bednar than some of the things that he's had in the past. And you don't have to go back very far. You can, because it goes back for a while. But if you just look at, I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, Pete had some pictures of someone behind the bench that made their way around.
Matt Duchene mentioned
Dallas.
this as well.
Matt Duchene mentioned it and laughed as well. But if you look up Pete DeBoer, and he has it going back years. We're talking San Jose or New Jersey. I'm thinking Vegas, Florida, all these old. So it's been something that's followed him around, and it's been a very similar theme following him around. So he made a nice joke about it. And then Matt Duchene just went into everything today. I mean, he talked about the many different things going on in the rink. He says Dallas is one of the best he's seen that has just funny stuff behind the glass, whether it's people doing something around the penalty box, whether it's the fan we all know that bangs on the glass that has the sign for the last decade.
What was the comment that Matt said today about that individual?
He said...
So, by the way, that guy had a feud with Paul Bissonnette, very public one from Spit and Chicklets, and they've been referencing him this year, saying that he is incarcerated right now and not there. And I believe was the line that Duchene said, including the guy who's not currently in society.
Yes, who's not currently in society, which is excellent.
It's a very, very tactful way.
Again, not confirmed, but again, this person's source told me that this person is expected to be back in society in May.
Oh, is that right?
That's what I hear.
Who's back first, Glassbang guy or Miro?
It's a good one. Could be both.
Who's more important?
Who's more important to the playoff run, Robo on the power play or that dude?
And here's the funny thing about Duchene. When we were asking, he was full of smiles. He even acknowledged that the suit difference was what got him the most, right? Same with me. It's like, how did he do it? He had to have inside help.
Yep.
And Duchene said something to the effect of, no, it's not like Bednar wears the same suit, because he referenced the burgundy So even the players are noticing the different colors that the coaches are wearing on the bench. which you think in the intensity of a playoff game that would go unnoticed, but no, they see these various things. And I'm sure that this has gone through the lounge.
Yeah.
I was going to say in the dressing room, but these guys probably hang out more in the player lounge than they do getting their gear on.
Yeah, I guess it speaks to the calmness of NHL players. The fact that, like, even when I'm up in the press box in a playoff game, I feel like I can't do all the things I'm trying to do. I feel like I'm constantly looking at something or writing something or posting something. These guys are able to look around even in the midst of an intense playoff game and notice these funny things. So I love that.
I'm here for the bits. There was a great, although it didn't work out as far as the result last night in Los Angeles as the Kings lost Game 5 to the Edmonton Oilers, but they had a harmonica group come play the national anthem, which is both wonderful and cheesy. And actually, I think because it was kind of cheesy, that's what made it great. But what I loved about it was the entire LA crowd at Crypto.com Arena was singing full voice very clearly along with the harmonicas. I mean, the only other thing that could maybe be a little bit cheesier is if you got a kazoo band that did it, which, by the way, wouldn't be a terrible idea.
Yeah.
In fact, I would love to see the Stars in arena staff come up with a kazoo band to do the anthem,
Hearing the star over it all.
along with like Selena or something like
Yeah.
that. That would be a fun bit.
They have one in Shoresy. I forget which season the U.S. Canadian team travels and plays a U.S. team in the Sioux Falls, I think is where it is. And they have a guy come out. I think it's a recorder.
Oh, nice.
And it says playing the Canadian anthem is Jimmy, who's just learning to play the recorder, and he
squeaks.
messes up every part. It's very entertaining.
Well, here's the tactfulness of Matt Duchene. There's been a lot of viral moments in this building with people behind the glass. A certain situation a few years ago behind our Stars bench that everybody was paying attention to, alluding to, I think, the fan that was wearing relatively revealing attire.
Sounds right.
And then he said, there's the other guy that I guess I've heard he's not in society anymore. So there's been a lot of things happening in this barn. I am here for playoff hijinks, for fan creativity. I think it makes the game more fun. Why? This is an entertainment business. And that is exactly what the fans are doing. They're bringing enthusiasm and passion to playoff hockey, but also coming up with great bits. And that makes it more fun.
Yeah, especially us here. You know we like to have fun. We're
here for
fun. We got Mr. Fun usually sitting to my right.
Mr. Fun might have had a hole in his rowboat today. He couldn't make it down to the downtown, which, by the way, his path is sort of similar to yours, and I have to kind of go in that general direction depending on traffic and everything. We made it okay.
Yeah, made it to practice and here.
Yeah, well, you know.
Luds, we miss you, but that doesn't mean we can't call you out.
Oh, I mean, if I wasn't here, he'd call me out in a heartbeat. So
and I never miss anything.
Never. And he doesn't chirp you ever. Yeah. So, really fun stuff. And, of course, we know that the game on Thursday will not be the Stars' last game of the playoffs because if worst case scenario, they're playing a Game 7 in Dallas. And that changes the pressure a little bit because I think it's squarely on the Avalanche.
Yeah, Stars should be. But Matt Duchene actually said it perfectly. Speaking of his stuff today, he said this is the type of game, especially with the way Dallas has played, especially with the way Dallas played after they took the 2-1 series lead in Colorado. You have to come out and smack them in the mouth because Colorado will come out and smack you in the mouth. And if Dallas does what they did in Game 4, and they go down 2-0 at the end of the first period and are kind of getting outskated, we might be heading back here. And I know I've heard it over and over again. It's such a cliche. Ending series early is not overrated or spoken about. It is very important for not only rest and all these things, but to make sure you don't put yourself in a do or die situation.
I knew there was one more goofy thing, and to sort of put a bow on our bit was we asked Pete a little bit more about what he was going to get for pizza in Denver after going, the big talking points. The place was called Slice Works. There's a couple locations in Denver, including one downtown right near the, on his walk between the team hotel and Ball Arena. And of course, Leah from the Dallas Morning News went and got the slices that he was talking about, the slice of Big Mac pizza and the jalapeno popper pizza. She did a video. It was great. She tested out. Nick Kotzanika, who writes for NHL.com, went and took pictures of the staff and interviewed them. They didn't know anything about this presser that Pete had in Denver the other day. And Pete kind of quipped today about maybe saving a few bucks the next time he goes there.
Yeah, getting a free slice. I think Leah said that Pete was there kind of looking in the window when she went, and she was like, I don't know if I should go and try to like get him to go with me, or if I should just leave him be. But I think I'm not going to promise because I don't know how the day's going to go. But I'm going to try to go as well because I'm staying downtown this time.
If you had a choice between the two, which one would
Big
you
Mac.
go? Big Mac pizza first.
The jelly doesn't sound good. I'll try them both, but
it
doesn't sound good.
But
to
the
me.
Big Mac one is.
Big Mac sounds good.
I'm excited, but I would try both too. I actually,
You're a jelly guy.
My mother-in-law has a recipe in the crock pot to make meatballs that includes grape jelly. It sounds weird, but it actually works. But I like jalapeno poppers too, but I've never had it with grape jelly.
You got to get those meatballs in the studio.
Oh my God, that would be a tough one considering it's upstate New York. So
yeah, ship them.
Ship them in. Yeah, it'd be like sending it on Frontier, like $2. All right, up next, we got a lot of stuff to talk about around the rest of the NHL. Let's get to it here on the DLS Stars podcast. And now we're going to talk about Bud Light. Usually Luds does this one, so I'm going to do it this time, and then Sam is going to do his. So we'll say this. What's up, Stars fans? Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink it. What to wear? Done. You just toss on your lucky jersey. Don't know what to serve your friends? Easy. Speaking of pizza, pick up some pizza from your go-to place. Grab some Bud Light to stock your fridge. See, it's that easy. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 and up. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. And we thank Bud Light for sponsoring all of our Stanley Cup playoff coverage.
All right, let's talk about Sleeper. Sleeper's the best fantasy platform out there, period. Put your ball or puck knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite player will have more or less in their projected stats each week. For tonight, I have Mr. Alex Ovechkin with more than a half a goal against Montreal, which is worth 1.95 times your money. Cole Caulfield, who is becoming slowly one of my favorite players in the NHL, especially switching to number 13, with more than half a goal as well in that series. Same series, 2.46 times. And then Nikita Kucherov, who has just been incredible for Tampa, and they are going to need him to be incredible. I have him with more than 0.5 power play points tonight, 2.03 times. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries, so you can stay ahead of the game and keep track in real time. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLSSTARS to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And I will say I've been doing better on my picks lately.
And John got his
the other nailed night. His, so we're trying to get ourselves up on the leaderboard here.
All right, thanks to Sleeper and to Bud Light. Let's talk about some very pressing NHL news from... We have a bunch of NHL news, but we have to talk about the NHL coaching carousel. Now, obviously, we were hoping to get Lud's and Sean's takes on this, but this isn't going to be a situation that ends in the next 24 hours. So we're going to have lots of time to be able to talk about these at length. And hopefully the Stars are going for a lot longer in the playoffs, and so this will be something that we'll sort of follow over the next few months.
Or we'll be relying on it because we have no
Or we'll be leaning heavily on it. Sam, a little bit of surprising news yesterday about Rick Tocchet and the Vancouver Canucks as we were interviewing and having in studio Craig Button.
Yeah, I know this was one where they gave Tocchet time to think about it, right? They finished their season. They didn't try to rush it. I know he went out and had lunch or dinner with Quinn Hughes to kind of talk things over, see if they're on the same page. And it was an interesting one because we know Tocchet's someone who's teams are going to be interested in. He's a very good coach, but Vancouver's sort of a mess. They got a lot going on.
Sort of.
Yeah, they had a lot. They were a massive mess early on. And they got a little cleaner later towards the end of the year.
Between the Rangers and the Canucks, I feel like they had the biggest drama of the year.
And it's funny because they traded
for everything.
Over.
Yep.
But yeah, for Tocchet, I knew this one was going to be up to him. This was not going to be a money thing. They said they were probably going to make him the highest paid coach in the NHL if he was available and wanted to come back. And in the end, he just decided, I think he said something like, seems good time for me to explore other options in and around hockey. So for him, he's going to be one of those guys that is going to get swept up. And as you're going to talk about here, there are plenty of available teams.
Boy, are there. So because Vancouver now has a sudden and unexpected vacancy, there are 8, count them, 8 NHL franchises out of 32, a quarter of the league without a head coach at the current moment. Let's do it in alphabetical order. The Anaheim Ducks. I was not ready for that. I love it. The Boston Bruins. No sound effect, no woohoo, no.
No bear roar. I don't have my full zoo animal layout.
I was
here.
just hoping for you to
Work
cheer
on
or
that.
something.
You
for
get
the
one of
Bruins.
those little things, the kid
No,
toy.
not much to cheer about with the Bruins these days.
The Chicago Blackhawks, the New York Rangers, both teams in Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers, Seattle Kraken, and now the Vancouver Canucks. That's 8 teams that do not have a head coach currently. There are a lot of guys. I went through some of the current, or I should say, recent head coaches or coaches that have been an NHL head coach before that are currently not employed, or maybe they're collecting a final year of a check or something like that. And there's a lot. I can double or triple the amount of openings with these guys. So let's start with one of the most obvious ones with Rick Tocchet is the Pennsylvania teams. I could see a real draw for both Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Now, of course, he played for both.
Yep.
He's been with Pittsburgh before. The Flyers seems like an absolute no-brainer. Pittsburgh, of course, the history there as well. I could see Flyers fans absolutely loving Rick Tocchet as the head coach, but you also have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang on the other side. Now, they're aging, but as we saw in the Four Nations, Sidney Crosby is still extremely effective at the highest level. Malkin, still very dangerous. Letang still can play. They have some other issues, whether it's Tristan Jarry in goal, who's going to be their long-term goaltender. I mean, is there depth where they need to be? What do you do with Erik Karlsson? Can Erik Karlsson be a liability while still being one of the best offensive defensemen in the league? If you looked at the Flyers and the Penguins, is there one that seems more interesting to you for Rick Tocchet?
The only reason I say Pittsburgh is because I get the Philly thing, and you'd think Rick Tocchet, he just fits in as a Philadelphia Flyers coach.
The vibe.
Yeah, he's got.
Yeah. But
they're not the same coach. I'm not saying that. But Tortorella is a similar hard-nosed, doesn't take a lot of flack coach, and that didn't work at all. So that's the only reason why I lean towards it. Again, they are not the same. He is not Tortorella, but he is a similar style type of coach that I think if it didn't work with Tortorella because they're young, they're rebuilding, that's a team where maybe you need a coach who's a little more of a player's coach in there to get those players into the system and everything. For me, Pittsburgh, helping the names you just had is what I think helps it, because you can get someone in that you don't necessarily have to. It's not all on his shoulders to get the young guys up to par and get that team figured out. They have basically a coach in Sidney Crosby. They have 2 other guys who have been with that core for basically 40 years, it seems like. For me, that's what I would do, only for that reason, though. I think either of them is a good fit.
That is also saying that the New York Rangers aren't in play, or Boston. And I would think for a guy like Tocchet or Mike Sullivan, who is, after 10 years with the Pittsburgh Penguins, now a free agent, and you just wonder, what do they want? Well, I would think any of these guys that are available, and there's quite a few of them, some of them will take any job because they want to get back into the coaching ranks. I mean, once we've talked about this many, many times. Once you have been an NHL head coach, it's like the greatest job security. You get fired very quickly, but you also get rehired a lot.
Yeah, you just got to move a good amount.
They love the retreads. Well, with a guy like Sullivan, with a guy like Rick Tocchet, they want to go somewhere, because I think those two, above all the other ones that I'm going to list off in here in a second, those are the ones that I think have the most selectivity of where they go. And I don't think any of them are going to want to go to a team that has to do a long rebuild, because that's a long, arduous process. It can be frustrating, and it can ultimately lead to you getting fired again if the expectation doesn't get met in a timely fashion.
Yep. And
of course, both of those guys, their teams were going the wrong way when they left, whether it was by choice or because of being let go. And I don't think they want to do that. So with Mike Sullivan, my first thought is it's Boston or New York, right? Because we talked about this with Craig Button yesterday, and John would love to see Mike Sullivan come home. He's a Massachusetts native. He and John are from the same hometown, which is really cool. And I can certainly understand that. Mike Sullivan's son-in-law plays for the Bruins, Charlie McAvoy, his daughter and his grandkids, grandson, I think just one so far, but I'm not sure. But that makes a lot of sense. However, are the New York Rangers in a better spot roster-wise or not? If you win in New York, that's a big deal. If you win in Boston, it's a big deal. They have Igor Shesterkin. Now, I'm a big fan of Jeremy Swayman, not just because he played at the University of Maine. I think he's really good. I think he can be that guy. Shesterkin, we know, can be that guy.
Yep. Yeah, the one for me that for New York, it feels that's. I mean, Boston's not a whole lot less, but New York is a high stress, you don't do well, you're going to get a lot of focus. But I think
Boston too.
Yeah, I think Elliot Friedman said it about New York. They're in a spot that you just said where do they believe that this was a fluke this season and that they had just had drama and needed to figure out a whole bunch of things and they can get back to the team that was incredible and went to the Eastern Conference Final, I believe, lost to Florida. Was that right? So
I mean, they were the President's Trophy winners last year.
So the question for them is, which one was a fluke season? Was it the fact that they had a run up to 100 and whatever points and got within a couple wins of the final, or was it the team this year that needed to figure it out? And I think rather than looking at media and other things like that want to figure that out, the team needs to figure that out. The organization needs to figure that out. Drury needs to figure that out. And that to me is more important, because if you're thinking that it was a fluke, that you were good and you have a lot to figure out, that can change who you hire.
Yep.
Right. And so for me, if they think they are a good team and this was a bad year, how about Mike Sullivan? That's a perfect fit. But the coach also has part in say, and it seems like Boston is going to be a pretty heavy pull for him.
I would think so too. So here are some of the coaches that are not currently employed by an NHL team that I went through, or they're employed as not a head coach, because there's a couple that are assistants for other teams as well. So these are, besides Mike Sullivan and Rick Tocchet, Peter Laviolette, who was just fired by the Rangers. He's been around and has coached in a bunch of different markets and been very successful. Won a cup with Carolina. He's coached the Rangers. He's coached most recently, of course, Nashville before that. John Tortorella just let go by the Flyers. I don't know where Daryl Sutter's mind is if he wants to coach again, but he's out there. Joel Quenneville has been very much starting to hear that his name more and more after being basically suspended by the league for what happened in Chicago, and that's a big deal. Alain Vigneault, Gerard Gallant is out there. Claude Julien is an assistant right now. Bruce Boudreau certainly would love to coach again, I'm sure. Dan Bilesma was just let go after just 1 year with Seattle after a really successful run at Coachella Valley with their AHL club. Former NHL head coaches Mike Yeo, Dave Hackstall, John Stevens, who was a Stars assistant. Don Granado's name has been thrown out there, especially for a job maybe like the Seattle Kraken, I think, is one, a little bit of a need to build. Jay Woodcroft, who I don't think it was his fault that things weren't going well last year with the Oilers, but they had to make a change there. Then you could look at a guy like Drew Bannister. Did he get sort of the raw end of the deal with St. Louis when they brought in Jim Montgomery? Right. But the ones that I think would be really interesting are from the AHL and from college hockey. AHL, our old friend Carl Taylor, who was an AHL assistant head coach with the Texas Stars. Now he's in charge of the Milwaukee Admirals. I think he is a phenomenal coach. He wins everywhere. And frankly, I'm shocked that Nashville hasn't considered hiring him when they brought in Andrew Brunette instead. Will Nashville make it 9 NHL teams that changed this summer? We don't know. Todd Nelson, also a former Stars assistant, now with the Hershey Bears. Hershey's incredibly successful. Nelson has won at every level where he's coached. He's been a really, really successful head coach. I don't know if he is the sexiest hire as far as coaches playing the game, whether it's in the media or doing the politics that they have to do, but his players love him and he has had a lot of success there. And then, of course, in the NCAA, David Carl is at the top of that list. We just heard the other day reports that basically he stepped away from consideration after interviews with Chicago, but Anaheim is one that would be really interesting. Maybe the Philadelphia Flyers, if they don't get Tocchet, would be one. But again, David Carl is in one of those set for life kind of things with a really top-end NCAA program in Denver. And so with a young family, you don't necessarily want to leave. You have more job security in college, certainly, than you do in the NHL. You can make a big payday, but you also would have to have a pretty 4 or 5 year contract term, because you want to make sure that you're not giving up a job that you could literally stay at for the rest of your career and then get summarily let go in a year or two.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it. I'm going to start with the AHL. The big question there is an obvious one. Can they make the jump to one? Can they make the jump from some of the guys that maybe don't have NHL experience?
Yep.
Most of them do. But the second thing is, can they make the jump? And does winning down in the AHL mean you are ready to take responsibility of an NHL team? And for some people, they have. For some people, they've gotten in roles like that, and it hasn't worked. So that's the question for those guys. For college, you're exactly right. You look at what we're talking about right now is because so many coaches get fired and so many coaches get moved, that NCAA can be a really good spot, especially for Denver, who is basically in the final or in the semifinals every single year.
With the portal now, they're also a team that can reload with the transfer portal because they're one of the blue bloods, right? They're one of the teams. It's not like they're a mid-major where they're going to lose their guys. Even if you don't recruit from junior or from high school age kind of thing, you're going to be able to pick and choose guys that want to go from the smaller schools to play for the big programs.
Yeah, and not even bigger. Like I'm a Minnesota Golden Gophers fan. It's just who I grew up rooting for. But
strange.
But that's a team that has been so good for so long.
Not that it's Minnesota, but
yeah,
from
random.
New Jersey.
All my teams are random. But the thing with Minnesota and a few other teams is that they're always really good, but they never win. You look at them and it's like, I've been a fan for 20 years. They don't win the championship.
Yeah.
They get there, they get to the semifinal, they get to the first round this year, and they lose. They get upset every year. That's not Denver. If you're a transfer and you're thinking, I want to go somewhere we're going to win, Denver has proven it. They've won the most national championships. They consistently win, even when they're unranked or on the bubble of the tournament. They come in and they beat the good teams. And so for me, that's a job that Monty held on to for a while. He was great at it. It's a risk to get rid of that because it's going to be filled immediately. So that's the big question for me in the NCAA side. And then one I don't think will ever happen necessarily because a lot to do with that. But Mark Johnson, the women's coach at Wisconsin, the famous USA Miracle
hockey,
guy,
yeah.
He has been so good for them. I think they've won the most national championships in college hockey. Those are types of the guys that you don't see necessarily a lot in NHL talks, but the ones that probably could eventually make that jump, and it's someone to watch.
Another Boston guy that I saw a rumor of just sort of a hint of a suggestion was if they don't get Mike Sullivan, would they look at Jay Pandolfo, who is a BU guy through and through, obviously spent a lot of time with the Devils in his NHL career, but now as a coach. We'll see, because again, or David Quinn, former BU coach, he's out there. There's a lot of assistants. If you look at the Dallas Stars real quick, and I know we got to get to our next break, but if you look at the Dallas Stars assistants, right? Elaine Nazardine was an interim head coach with the New Jersey Devils, and I knew he liked it and was hoping to do that. I could see him someday getting a shot to be a full-time head guy. Steve Spott and Pete DeBoer seem to be linked at the hip now, although Steve Spott wasn't a head coach in both junior and with the AHL's Toronto Marlies, and he had a great team when he was the head coach there. And then I just wonder, I don't know if it's this year, but if Misha Donskov would be somebody that down the road could be in that position. I know he's in a different role. He's associate coach and he's doing certain things that help in the development side and stuff, and he's all part of Pete's staff. But just, I had somebody ask me the other day on Twitter if any of the Stars coaches would be up for interviews for this, and I'm sure they'd be thinking about it. I know for a fact that those guys all have those aspirations because I've talked to them about it.
Yeah.
But the question is, from the other side, would they be looking at that? There's a lot of guys out there. And all these names that I listed, there's more. I didn't get them all. So
that's the tough part is you're like, you think this guy is so capable, and then you look, oh, well, there's proven Stanley Cup champion coaches available. So sometimes those guys just don't even get considered. Well,
and former Texas head coach and Dallas assistant Derek Laxdal is in the AHL. I think Coachella Valley since Dan Biles moved. He would probably be kicking around at that. What about Neil Graham? He's still very young, but he's been really successful with the Texas Stars. You see with a lot of this, we'll get to more of it, but fascinating stuff. 25% of the NHL currently without a head coach as we are in the first round of the playoffs. Up next, let's talk about some really interesting news around the league and maybe a blooper reel to finish off today's show here on DLLS. All right. I have something special for you guys today, and I'm glad that I saved it because let's talk about being a diehard. And actually, you know what? We'll do this to start the next segment. I'm going to read the diehard stuff, but I want to read you something special from a DLS diehard, but I think it might take longer than this ad break. So sign up today. the $36 deal, I think, is done. I don't think that's available anymore.
Oh,
but
it's mislabeled in the system.
But that QR code still exists because that $36 NFL draft was a promotion that was for the last week and a half or so. But you can still sign up to be a diehard, and you should, because think about this. If you sign up today, you will be a DLS diehard for a calendar year. You don't have to worry about it until the end of April 2026, which means all the rest of the playoffs here and the entire regular season next year, you get a free t-shirt. That's number one. Why would you do that? Look at the playoff shirts the Stars have right now. The Moose, who scored his first goal in the playoffs just the other night in Game 5. Then you have the captain, Jamie Benn. Your bestie, Harley, just posted those two and the Finnish Mafia shirt. All three arrived at her place. They look great. I don't have the other two, but I do have the Finnish Mafia one. And so in doing so, the thing that I just think is phenomenal is that you get one of those for free. In addition to that, you get the Die Hard Discord access, including we use Die Hard only. We made a Stanley Cup playoff bracket challenge. I haven't checked yet because we haven't finished the first round.
I'm bad.
Did you get Carolina right?
Yes.
Okay.
That one was easy.
So I did too. So that's one down so far out of the 8 series that I have right. So I'm 1 for 1 with 7 still to go. We'll see how the rest of them go. But don't forget to sign up because Sam and Sean have been doing a ton of writing, covering the site, travel logs, you name it. And that's one of the 4 main teams here that we cover, along with the Cowboys, the Rangers, the Mavericks, Dallas Wings. We're doing more and more coverage with Paige Beckers being drafted and yada, yada, yada. It's worth every penny. Be a diehard today. Okay, speaking of being a diehard, before we get to NHL news and notes, Sam, I was hoping to do this with Luds and Sean, but I've been sitting on this for a few days, and I wanted to read
Settle on me.
Well, you get this, and you'll love this. So, Luds, Sean, you should have been here to react, but too bad. We got an email from a diehard member named T. Haynes. T is from Australia, Stars fan since 1998, and an interesting path. Grew up with just one rink in Perth, Australia, and it was about an hour away. They had a roller skating rink, is how he learned to skate. Then somehow ended up in Canada, in Vancouver, actually to work at the Winter Olympics when he was in his late 20s, and didn't switch to being a Canucks fan, stayed as a Dallas Stars fan. Planned to only be there a year or two, then met his now wife and got his permanent residency. He's in his 30s at that point, bought hockey gear, and had a bunch of guys that were a part of a local Australian rules football club to create a hockey team, a beer league team. And they didn't even understand the rules. They had, I believe, no less than 6 too many men on the ice penalties the first game. They stopped keeping score. They said about 17 goals against early in the second period, but they weren't shut out. That was important. But he is now, they've had a great time. They have such a competitive house league now. They have a farm team called the West Coast Sinners to go along with the West Coast Saints, which is their beer league team. And so they basically have a beginner feeder program often for players working or guys working on holiday or work visas if they want to try hockey for the first time. So now he's a Canadian citizen. He coaches his 2 sons at the U9 and U11 hockey level. They absolutely love the Stars. They've picked that up, which is amazing. And they wear them to school. All the Canucks jerseys you can imagine up in Vancouver, and still yell Stars in the anthems when they go up there, which is really cool. He is a DLS diehard. He discovered it a couple of months ago via YouTube and now barely misses a show. Usually not watching them live, but hadn't considered signing up to be a diehard because not really into the other Dallas sports and not able to use those benefits because just cares about the Stars. But then he saw the Esa Lindell article, and with it being behind the paywall, he thought he should. How about you send me the Finland audio file and I'll sign up when I tune into the live broadcast. So how about that? So I will get T, I will get the.
Oh, it's been handled.
Oh, you
Was
sent it
this was
already?
I
recent?
did that a while
This
ago.
was
Oh,
recent?
so John, you got connected with this as well.
Yes.
So did you get a response from T when you sent him?
Yes, I sent it to him, and I said, "Hey T, here's what you're looking for. It's actually from an episode of SpongeBob, as are most of our drops, which I linked him to. Appreciate your support, John." He then said, "Hi Josh, amazing, thank you. Thanks for the context as well. My wife is going to hate hearing that go off. Finland got it done last night. I'll subscribe to Die Hard next time I'm tuned into the live feed."
That's
All right,
amazing.
so T, if you're watching this, obviously this is a recorded podcast ahead of time, not live. If you get this, if you're as big of a DLS Stars podcast fan as you say you are, I'm sure you'll see this. Thank you so much for your support. The next time you join the live show, let us know you've signed up to be a diehard, and we'll give you a special Finland drop for that.
I
So,
hope the article was up to par.
okay, we have a couple NHL news and notes we are going to hit real quick. We'll probably talk about more of this later, but the Utah Hockey Club, apparently somebody made a mistake last night because in the wee hours of the night, it was discovered by the sleuths on the internet that the official YouTube page, the channel for the Utah Hockey Club, was renamed Utah Mammoth. Now, this was the logo leak back when they were doing the fan vote for, what was it, 2 home games, I think it was, out at Delta Center in Salt Lake City. And the 3 finalists were the Utah Mammoth, Outlaws, and the Utah Hockey Club. By the way, the logo underneath the Hockey Club, that's probably what they were going to be of the Utah Yeti.
Yeah.
Which, look, they're all good. They're all really well done, professionally made logos. They all look good with the color scheme. The Yeti is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I wanted it even before I saw that, but to have the Yeti coming out of the side of the mountains like that, how perfect is that?
It's awesome.
I don't-
love their colors.
It's not going to happen, right? We
Yep.
we know that that's probably, so if they're going to be the Mammoth, I'm okay with it. I know there's a Major League Lacrosse team that is the Mammoth.
Yep.
That's weird, but other teams have the same mascot. The Panthers are in basically every sport.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of
okay.
cats in sports.
Do you like the idea of the Utah Mammoth?
I do.
And is it weird that it's singular, considering that Mammoths is with an S, plural?
Yeah, that I know it's
It's like jazz,
grammatically
though, isn't
incorrect.
it?
Yeah, I think it sounds way cooler. I think Mammoths just doesn't sound good. So I like Mammoth and I like the logo. I think they should lean heavily into the Ice Age references for the Mammoth.
Well, I mean, look, there's other non-plural team names. Obviously the Jazz is a big one.
Wild.
The Wild is the one that always confuses me because you talk about it from a singular or a plural Wild, and that's awkward when
Yeah.
writing, especially from the writing standpoint. I don't have a problem with Mammoth. I wish it was the Yetis.
Yeah.
And Yeti, I would want that to be Yetis.
You see, we're on different pages there. I would have wanted it to be the same. I would have wanted it to be the Utah.
But if it was
Yeti.
Utah Yeti, that's singular, and that's directly
Oh yeah,
in
problem.
with a problem with the Yeti brand.
Someone was saying they should get Yeti as their jersey sponsor. So
Oh,
it
it
just
would-
still says Yeti on there.
Yeti, all over the place. Hey, they should have made it work. They should have figured out how to
Yeah,
make it
would've
work.
been cool.
But Mammoth is fine with me. So,
Yeah, I like it.
Aaron Ekblad was suspended for 2 games for a hit on Brendan
decapitation.
Hagel. Did you see the hit? What do you think about the suspension?
It's fully warranted. It was a bad. I think Butts said it yesterday on our show that
He was fine with it.
yeah, he was fine with it. I think more. I'm not going to speak for him, but I think more what he meant was the fact that they are letting players get revenge is the wrong word, but retribution for things that other players do. We know that Hagel was the one who hit Barkov right in the other
Yep.
game and it knocked him out of the game. I think that's more what he meant. I don't know that for sure, but I think this was a very bad hit. It was not just an elbow to the head, but he wound up the elbow and threw it to the chin.
And the contact was to the head.
Contact was to the chin, almost knocked him out cold. He could have hit his head on the very dangerous play, warranted of a suspension.
We were going to talk about some other stuff because the finalists have been announced for the Vezina, the Norris, and the Ted Lindsay, but we are getting out of time. John, I'll give you a producer's executive decision here, live on recorded show. Should we do the Luds blooper for overtime, or should we save it for another day?
We might as well do it now that we've
Cat out of
revealed
the
its
bag?
existence.
Do it.
Okay.
You got to wait 30 seconds to go to overtime though.
Okay. Well,
It's a timing thing. For
it's a
TV.
timing
Let's
thing.
talk for 30 seconds.
Well, no, happiest hour, by the way, coming up on Thursday, which is the 1st of May. Luds is going to make an appearance at an appearance
Experience. Yep.
appearance at Happiest Hour in Dallas at around 6:30 Central Time for about 30 to 45 minutes. Come have a drink with Luds before our Stars pregame show. We know the time for Game 6 is going to be at 8:30 Central Time, but that means probably 8:52 because it is a TBS game, and it's the second game of the Toronto-Ottawa doubleheader. There's 4 games that night, 2 on TBS and 2 on ESPN. So Stars are the second game. It's probably going to be almost 9 o'clock. Come hang out with Luds. He's going to be there at happiest hour. I have a conflict, so I don't think I'm going to be there in time. If something changes because of all this weather, maybe I will, but Luds will definitely be there. And let's face it, he's the one you want to hang out with anyway, right? 6:30 at happiest hour right here in Uptown. Are we going to do our television sign-off?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't know. This wasn't live, so I wasn't sure, but we are still going to put it on our television platform. So thank you to all those who tuned in today on our television platforms. Please make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldls.com. Okay, to leave you today, I give you our producer, John Anderson, with the latest bit of fun.
So we attempted to record a YouTube short with Luds yesterday. The first one that we did last week actually went pretty well, so I was not anticipating how poorly this one went. And we were too close to showtime, and he wasn't listening to me when I was telling him to read from the script. So instead, Luds freeballed it, and this ended up being the video, which I will premiere here. That was unsalvageable and unusable. So now after this show ends, we have to retape it with Sam because Luds couldn't come here. But in its glory, Luds' keys to Game 6, to a Game 6 victory for the Dallas Stars.
So you just say, if you f***ed it up, I got to do it again? Here's what the Dallas Stars need to do to try to close out the Avalanche in 6 games. Dallas has to attempt to shut down off. Dallas has to attempt to shut down Cale Makar, but it's a little more difficult, but they need to try to shut down Nathan MacKinnon as well. Pretty good on the ad lib there, isn't it?
No.
Oh, I see. It's got to be shorter. Okay. The Stars need to continue working on their D-zone coverage to shut down MacKinnon. Oh, wait. I should say limit. Yeah, the Stars need to... I can't take giggling over there. Oh, yeah.
That's us laughing.
The Stars need to continue working on their D-zone coverage to limit chances from Nathan MacKinnon. Does that sound right? The Stars need to limit their chance. No, wait. The Stars need to continue their D-zone work to limit the chances of Nathan MacKinnon. But will you quit throwing me off? But MacKinnon can't score if he's at the other end of the rink. What I mean by that, the more that the Stars play territorial, meaning keep the pucks in the offensive zone, the less time they spend in the defensive zone. I kind of covered it all right there. Offensively for the Stars, they need to continue getting pucks to the net. Everything goes to the net, players gravitate to the net. And that may help get inside of Mackenzie Blackwood's head. That should be it. Do I got to read that last part? Can the Dallas Stars close out the Avalanche in 6? I don't know.
Oh, that's unbelievable. What a great blooper reel. Luds, you're a real trooper for being there. And let's just sign off with this. Our show...
Something broke and it's stuck on the screen, so it just is the way it is now.
Can you hear
I don't know where it is. Yeah, no, you guys, no, they can hear you.
Oh,
but
okay,
I'm just, because you guys are going to be confused why there's a still image of Luds on the screen and it's stuck there and it's not going anywhere. So
it's actually a great way to end it up. Look, we have a pregame show tomorrow night. It's 8 o'clock Central Time right here from our DLS studios. Sam will be reporting live from Ball Arena in Denver, weather permit.
So you just say,
Yeah, see, there he is.
We have to go to the sleeper screen, I guess.
That's right. That's okay. Game 6, pregame show, 8 o'clock tomorrow. Puck drop should be around 8:52. We're doing another watch along, which is always interesting. And, of course, our postgame show after that. Big thank you to our presenting sponsors, Bud Light and Happiest Hour. Stay safe out there with all the storms in Dallas, whether you're in DFW or around the world. For producer John, for Sam, I'm Owen. And, of course, for our 2 comrades missing in action today, Luds and Sean, thanks for joining us here on DLLS.
We all silly like the mayor.